Welcome to the future. Technologies and innovations that sculpt our industry.
This episode brought to you by Interplay Learning, virtual reality training and education for the skilled trades. Learn more at interplaylearning.com. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us once again on Did You Know, the ESCO HVAC podcast. So this time we're hanging out with Dan Clapper, Marketing Director for Interplay Learning. How are you, my friend?
I'm awesome. How are you, Clifton?
I'm doing well. You know, we keep talking about ways that we can help educators, ways that we can help contractors, ways that we can help even our technical trainers from manufacturers, right? There's a lot of ways that technology is changing the way we approach education. And Interplay is right at the heart of doing technological advancements and technological opportunities. And we've recently done a partnership on that to make sure that we're preparing industries, and not just our own, but people who came from other industries that's looking for a fresh start and looking at HVAC, and they're looking at refrigeration and electrical, and they're looking at all these different pieces of the trades going, I really would like to have a piece of that. And where do I begin? So let's talk a little bit about Interplay, and let's talk about things that are going on in the digital education side.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think, you know, one of the fun things that we do at Interplay that's kind of our differentiator is simulations.
Yes.
Right. So we create a 3D environment, just like a video game, where you can go in and you can practice. You can practice using a multimeter, practice, you know, doing service or maintenance or troubleshooting. And we hear time and time again, like, it's actually fun. This is a fun way to learn.
Yeah.
You know, we got people that love doing it. So, you know, that's the secret sauce of Interplay anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when we look at like digital technology and how much that's changed and how much the whole 3D world is evolving, I mean, it's like evolving at a crazy fast speed, like so many things in the industries. But that piece of what we do and the way that we utilize that for training is a really, really, really cool function. Because if we say we're taking someone who is new into working with their hands, you know,
Yeah.
that could be a high schooler that's just now going into an HVAC program. That could be an experienced person from another industry that's looking at the trades going, man, you know what? A lot of people lost their jobs and didn't have things to do during the pandemic, but these people were like out busy making money, and I want a piece of that. So where do I begin, and what can I do to make sure that I'm doing it safe? Because if I've never touched electrical meter and a motor before,
Yeah.
like, do I really want to get my hands in there first, or do I want to virtually do that?
Yeah, and it's super fun. We like, even in a school setting or like in a contractor's shop,
Mhm.
if I can send someone through a simulation 5 or 10 times before they play around with the equipment in my shop, you know, number one, they're going to be safer. Number two, they're going to actually kind of have a baseline knowledge of what they're even looking at. And three, there's less chance of them burning out the controls and stuff on the equipment in your shop. So,
And that's a big plus. We
yeah.
don't need to let the smoke out. All right. We can virtually do that until, so we can actually see what's going on. So,
Yeah.
and we're not talking about just HVAC, right? We're talking about HVAC, we're talking about the commercial side of HVAC, we're talking about plumbing, we're talking about electrical, we're talking about multifamily maintenance, we're talking about facilities maintenance, we're talking about safety, we're talking about solar, and we're also talking about hospitality fundamentals, right?
Yeah, totally.
So,
And
you guys have released a lot.
yeah, and I think, again, to your point, like, we're seeing a lot of career exploration. Like, people are taking this to the, you know, to the job fairs or the high schools or the, you know, the local community events, and, you know, giving kids an option. Like, hey, look at this. This field is actually fun to get into. You can play around in a simulation, and you can go through a problem solving process and actually figure things out. Like, you know, it just gives a different perspective of what people might originally think about the trades.
Absolutely. And you're also working with even like some of the equipment manufacturers to be able to put together the simulations on like real pieces of equipment, not just, like theoretical designs of things. We're actually diving into functional pieces of equipment and functional components to get an in-depth understanding of what that's actually going to look like once you get out into the field.
Yeah. We partner with some of the major manufacturers out there. I actually just spent a whole week down at Daikin's corporate headquarters, and we built a ton of simulations for them.
Down at the Learning Center. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll be anxious to see those. That's like one of my favorite products.
There we go.
Yeah. So when we start talking about these educational opportunities, let's talk about who the primary market is for
Yeah.
InterPlay.
So, I hear from I don't know, 2,000 contractors we deal with at least that,
Wow.
they struggle with hiring qualified technicians, right?
Absolutely.
A lot of people retiring. There's more coming through the trade schools, but there's still not enough. So
They
what's
don't have the
happening
capacity.
is a lot of these contractors are becoming trade schools themselves,
Yeah.
almost like they have to teach
Absolutely.
people in-house. So these could be, kids out of high school or people in their 20s or 30s, 40s that are looking for a career change. And a lot of times these are people that maybe don't have the best, haven't had the best opportunities in life. They, maybe had a tough home life, or they immigrated to the country, or they dropped out of college, or like we're talking people that are maybe making minimum wage or barely taking care of their family. And through having an in-house career development program, you're giving them a path, a career, and literally changing their lives. And that's why we love to do what we do.
I keep going back to this conversation that I'm starting to believe that every person in the HVAC and just in training in general, like, have servant hearts. Like, we all want to help people become better, right? It's like we get a kick out of opening opportunities and doors for people to give them the tools to be successful. And you're right, we don't have the capacity in our vocational programs to keep up with the demand that we now have for people wanting to be in this industry. Like, we hear it all the time from our schools, hey, I've got 15 seats available. I typically will get, 18 or 20 applications. This year I've got 300.
Yeah,
And
that's insane.
It's absolutely insane. So we're actually turning away people who want to be in the field. And so even at our conference this year, we had a huge increase in the amount of contractor technical trainers that are building their programs. They're coming to HVAC Excellence and ESCO going, okay, I want to put together a program, and I need the curriculum, and I need to have an outline. And we go, well, we really help with it, like the outline side of things. And we talk about, the principles that you need to be teaching. We talk about the competencies and the task list. And then it's going to be up to you to decide what curriculum is going to work best for your environment. And so in the schools, we can use InterPlay like for homework in particular, man. That is like so good, because if we're going to be doing a hands-on class, we can go, all right, we're going to be using a meter on a motor tomorrow. Tonight, you're going to go home and you're going to do this for a few times on your own before you get here. When we get to the contractor is trying to do on-the-job training as well. So they're wanting to get that exact same educational concepts in there. They want to make sure that you see this stuff before you actually sit down in class and work with it, or before you're in a customer's, building and you're working on this going, okay, I'm going to try not to burn this place down. Right?
Exactly.
So you get to actually experiment with that. And so what we've been doing is we've been helping make those connections. And then now we also have coming back from our educators, as well as our distributor educators and our contractor educators, going, okay, so we're teaching this stuff. We want to make sure that they're retaining that knowledge as they're going through these courses. And how can we do that? And so you and I, all right, InterPlay and HVAC Excellence got together and we decided, well, let's just attach certifications for that, and let's see if they're retaining this knowledge. Right. And that way we can start tracking that. And so as someone's taking the courses, they're able to then go back and, all right, let's see if I learned everything that I was supposed to learn. If I did, sweet. I'm going to walk away now with a certification showing that I've actually retained this knowledge. That's powerful.
It's so powerful. And, I dropped out of college twice is the story I like to tell people.
Yep.
So,
I never completed.
and I always had this thing like, man, I wish I actually did complete. Like I got something. to prove.
Something. Yeah.
And just in the last year, I got a couple certifications myself. And I tell you what, it feels good.
It's rewarding.
Like, I've been working hard for a long time, and now I actually have proof that I can go to people and say, by the way, I actually can back up what I say that.
Yeah. This is not just a bunch of good words. This is proof. I actually do know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah. And it's a very, very powerful thing to help someone achieve that. One of the really cool podcasts I did a while back was with a contractor that focuses on recruitment by building the resume for their employees.
Oh, I love it.
And I was like, well, tell me about this. What are you doing? He's like, well, we're building a training path for our employees so that when someone comes into the industry, no matter what role they're going to end up in our company, they are all going to do the same training. And they utilized Interplay training for every person coming into the company. Didn't matter if you're going to be driving a truck, you're going to be working in a warehouse, you're working in the office, you're actually going to become a technician. You all took these fundamentals so you could see what actually happens inside of the company and why we all do what we do. But the most important part was you're actually taking tests along the way. And even if it was an Interplay, they were taking a test for that. If it was a Word document, they were learning some type of word processing. They were actually taking tests. And so as a contractor, they were helping build the resume of employees. And the thing that came back out of that was, Cliff, it's one thing to be able to give someone a job. It's another thing to be able to point someone in a career path and then show them their accomplishments along the way. He said, I'll be honest with you. We don't do hardly any promoting for our jobs.
I was going to say,
people come to us.
Word
So
of
if
mouth.
they happen to, think about that. I mean, can you imagine you and I when we were, at that point in life, we're like, man,
Yeah.
I want education, but college just, I don't know, it's just not doing it for me.
Exactly.
And somebody come by and say, how would you like to actually learn some skills? And if you learn them appropriately and you learn them with some precision, you're actually going to pass some industry certifications and you're going to start building your own portfolio of accomplishments.
It's so powerful. It really is. And I think I have one core belief that is above all when it comes to training.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really about building that self-confidence too.
That's it.
That the statistic I always reference is 85% of adults have low self-confidence.
Yep.
And why is that? And it's probably because they compare themselves to their peers. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. And when you're on a path of growth, when you're on a path of learning, that's how you build that self-confidence. That's how you, I can now go to that job site and actually perform that task. And I couldn't do that yesterday and I can do that today. That feels good. That makes me excited.
That is absolutely right. Yeah. So I really applaud what you guys are doing. It's bringing a new element to our industry that is so needed. And you might have people that'll come to the industry and go, I think I want to be involved in this. And they go through a course and then they realize, I don't know that I have that aptitude. Isn't it a much better opportunity to do that first before getting into the job and 6 months later or a year later going, I guess I didn't realize that this job actually involved all of this.
Yeah.
Because that happens sometimes, right?
Yeah, totally.
So now a person gets to be able to hop in and go, okay, let's see what this is. Everyone tells me what HVAC is. And then you got people saying, well, that's actually not all that HVAC is. There's so many opportunities that you can do. And here are just some pieces of it. And so they might want to explore this career. So for people that are exploring the trades, I think this is an amazing way to hop in and see if it sparks your interest and your creativity.
Yeah, it's so fun. And I mean, we've heard stories that, young adults, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds, they go home, they're playing their video games all night. Well, in between their matches, while they're waiting for the loading screen,
yeah,
they hop over to Interplay Learning and they're like, I'm going to go fix a thermostat real quick.
Yeah,
I'm going to
exactly.
go change a capacitor.
Yeah.
And so
yeah.
like, it's just how they do that. How, the
Yeah.
younger generation is like, it's just the way that they learn, the way that they, experience. My son is 12 years old. He knows how to do VR better than I do. Like,
Absolutely.
so,
It's embed into their learning skills.
exactly.
Part of the curriculum that we're seeing in all aspects of education is virtual training classes. I mean, just think about it. When the COVID-19 pandemic happened, schools didn't shut down for very long.
Right.
They were back in action doing what they do, just virtually and digitally.
Right.
And so we have to embrace these technologies and we have to promote these technologies because they're an additional tool. One of the biggest complaints we get from educators is, I've got all this new stuff that I got to teach, but I don't have any new hours and I don't have any new help. So what do you want me to get rid of so that I can teach this new stuff? And with tools like Interplay, you don't do that. You keep teaching your curriculums. You just give all of your prep for them to do at home exactly like you're talking about. They're going to be playing on digital technology at home.
Yeah.
Why not use it for the betterment of their career?
Yeah. I mean, we hear the term flipped classroom a lot.
Yes.
Like how much can we get the foundational knowledge done when they're at home?
Absolutely.
So when they come into the classroom, I can give them the best stuff. Right?
Yeah. Yep. Think about all the things that even us, like I consider myself a Gen Xer. I think of all of the things that I learn at home, at night, on my phone or on my computer, right? It could be things for fun. It could be things just to pass time. But a lot of times it's educational stuff, right? It's things that I'm doing at home that ends up making my day job better, right? More efficient. And so if I'm in school and I have the opportunity to still be entertained, but also getting that education, man, now we're just compounding the curriculum that we're doing during the day, whether we're at a school or we're at a wholesaler or we're at a contractor. We're prepped for that conversation that we're going to have with that real hands-on stuff. Nothing will ever replace a hands-on experience, but by
100%.
golly, if you can build it into your brain before time, right? You can
Yeah.
have your brain prepped for the sequence of operation. Then you get in front of it and you go, "Well,
Yeah.
let's go."
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny too, because, a lot of times with this on the job training, when I grew up, I worked for my dad, right? 15, 16 years old.
Yep.
And I'd sit there and I'd ask him like, why, what's happening in this furnace box? What's in here? And my dad wasn't really a trainer. Like, he's like, it just works. And we hook this up here and hook this up here. And like, there was a lot of times when I went to ask why, but I never got the answer. So now the ability to learn some of that contextual and foundational knowledge. So when I'm on the job, I'm like, oh yeah, I know why this does this. I know
Absolutely.
how this works. Like it just, again, increases that self-confidence.
Yeah. I still love to work on vehicles. There's a lot of things that's changed on vehicles that it's not stuff that I learned. It's not stuff that I experienced. So what do I do before I go put my hands on that stuff?
Yeah.
I Google it or YouTube it, or I use some type of digital education so that I can get comfortable with it before I actually go physically do that.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's changed in education. In the past, a lot of times we would learn about something, we would see it first and then go study it, right?
Uh-huh.
I think that's changed. We're very much in a design of modular education where we can get the pieces of information that we need at different times and still come to the same conclusion, right? A lot of people learn in different skill sets. So by being able to make that accessible, making it modular, we now have the opportunity to disperse our learning skills in a variety of different avenues.
Yeah, and I love that too, because one of the concepts I always talk about too is kind of micro learning, or
Yeah.
I always hear contractors, we're so busy in the summer. Like, I have no time to train.
Time for training.
And I'm like, that's when, guess when you make the most mistakes, people. It's when you're busy. So like just a 5-minute video in the morning, or a 10-minute refresher course on even if you kind of know, but maybe you remember something quick, you can be a little bit more efficient, can be a little bit more confident on the job. 5 to 10 minutes a day throughout the week, we're talking 30, 40, 50 minutes. We're not talking a ton of time, but it increases that confidence, increases that skill level. And it, back to your point, it feels more of like a career and not a job.
Exactly. When you're talking about hours and utilization of time, I've also talked to contractors that will utilize resources like this, because you're running all this through an LMS where you're tracking time and you're tracking how much the person is actually interactive with that educational experience. I've talked to contractors and I've talked to schools that utilize that as part of their curriculum, right? Yeah. You're going to have 5 hours of homework this week, or you could have 5 hours of paid time. It could be 1-2 hours paid time, whatever. And all you have to do is show me the transcript of your completed class.
Yeah.
Boom.
Easy
Assignment's
peasy.
Done. Easy peasy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. So let's talk about the employment ready, job ready certificate programs you have. So you got HVAC, you've got plumbing, electrical, construction, multifamily, building maintenance, appliances. How do people get in contact with Interplay to learn about integrating into their educational programs?
Sure. Interplaylearning.com. We have a ton of information on there, depending on whether you're an educator or a contractor or in any of those verticals. We do free demonstrations. We give trial access, so you can kind of kick the tires and play around and see if it fits for you. And we have a lot of really fun use cases. But that use case of thinking about just helping someone in your community that maybe has not had a chance, and giving them a chance for a career, like, there's a lot of feel good that can come from that use case too. And then at the end of a series of courses, go to HVAC Excellence, get that certification. I mean, that's so powerful.
All right, Dan Clapper, Interplay Learning. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Awesome. Thank you.